Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Saturday, April 5th, 2014. This is episode 1071. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by lynda.com. Learn what you want when you want with access to over 2,400 high-quality online courses, all for one low monthly price. Try it free for 7 days. Visit lynda.com/techguy. That's lynda.com/techguy. And by ShareFile. Enhance your workflow. Send files of almost any size easily and securely with ShareFile by Citrix. Try ShareFile today. For a 30-day free trial, go to sharefile.com, click the microphone, and enter Tech Guy. And by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you'll finally have all your financial life in one place and get a clear view of everything you own. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/techguy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here. I am the Tech Guy. What does that mean? Well, it means you finally found a place in the world where you can talk about your deepest technology hopes and fears, your needs, your dreams, your desires. 8888 Ask Leo. Think of me as the kind of Fraser Crane of technology. You call me, you ask me a question, I'll talk you off the ledge. And if I'm Fraser Crane, why that person, that one over there must be Roz. You kind of even remind me of Roz a little bit. It's Heather Hammond. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
The phone ranger.
It just comes with the territory, doesn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, is that a bad thing? Is that an insult if I say you're my Roz? I don't consider myself Fraser Crane, really.
Yeah. Well, the show took a hard ride at one point, so I don't always like the comparison. I think you know what I'm referring to.
Okay. Oh, yeah, well, we won't go there. We won't go there. But I do feel that this show is a kind of a psychotherapy for the technology enabled. For those of you who struggle each and every day with the off and on switch, the blinking 12, I just got, it's interesting because we are in a new age. We are in a kind of, I think in many ways, the second era or third era of technology, the era where it's all, I'm going to use a word that sometimes is confusing, commoditized. It almost, for instance, I just got, this is the Amazon Fire TV, which is their streaming media box. Looks very much like roughly the size of an Apple TV. Same price as an Apple TV, does much the same thing as an Apple TV or a Roku or a dozen other devices. The idea is it is a little mini-weeny computer that connects your television to the internet and gives you access to content on the internet like Netflix, Amazon, of course, Hulu Plus, Pandora, that kind of thing. So it's a device that at its base, at its root, connects your television to the internet. But really, it is a PC. It is a computer, and they want you to kind of use it as a computer because not only do they have a remote control, as say the Apple TV does, but you can buy for an additional $40. So the Amazon Fire TV is $99, but for an additional $40, you can get a game controller. It looks just like an Xbox controller, and you can play games on it. And in fact, if you look inside this little hockey puck size thing, it really is just an Android device. Amazon didn't mention Android because they don't really kind of want you to think about what's in there. It doesn't matter, right? But those of us who pay attention to this stuff, we tech guys, we're curious. So inside here, this is effectively the same guts that would come in a high-end smartphone minus the screen. It is a quad-core processor. They don't say which, but I'm sure it's a Qualcomm Snapdragon. It has its own graphics processor unit. That's why it can game. It has 2 gigabytes of memory, RAM. That's just like a smartphone. It probably has some storage, although storage is less important on a device like this because it's really just designed to pass stuff in and out, right? No, but it has to have some storage so you can add channels and things. And that's what I mean by commoditized. The underlying technology is so mature, so well understood, so well defined. The microprocessors, the systems on a chip, the radios, all of that is so well understood now that it's easy for almost anybody just to make something that works on top of it. We see dozens, literally dozens of Android-based sticks that plug into your TV that do much the same thing as the Fire TV. So this is and it's interesting because I'm reading a book right now called Dogfight, how Apple and Google fought over the future, particularly in the mobile device space. And it starts, of course, in 2007 when Apple created the iPhone. And even though that was only 7 years ago, we weren't anywhere close to having a simple set of tools that we could assemble to make this thing work. Nobody'd done it. Everything was tricky and bug-laden and difficult to do and had to really be engineered from scratch. They did a lot of work. They did a lot of great work. And we're standing on the shoulders of the engineers at Apple who did that. In fact, that's one of Apple's complaints against Google and Samsung. It's they waited till we finished it, and they just hopped on. And I'm not going to weigh in on that. I mean, I think that's probably the case, but it's good for us consumers, isn't it? Because we have a choice. The prices are low. The variety and options are high. Apple's just one of many. It would be a very different world if the only smartphone you could get was an iPhone. Maybe not a world we'd want to be in. We get a lot more benefit because we have some choice. And because companies like Amazon can come along and take Android free, put it into a box, and make it a $100 box that has more processing power than your desktop computer of just a few years ago, of when the iPhone came out, for instance, in 2007. But this is all good because what it means is if you want to invent, if you want to innovate, you don't have to invent the basic building blocks anymore. That was a considerable amount of energy for Apple. It took them 3 years. The story is great in the book Dogfight about the first demonstration of the iPhone, which was far from done, was a very rocky product. And nobody thought on the team that Steve Jobs would be able to get through his 90-minute demo without a major failure, a major crash. They knew there was something they called the golden path where, for instance, he couldn't surf the web and then send email. He had to send email, then surf the web, or the system would crash. He had to do everything in the right order. But there was a golden path the engineers had figured out that if you do just these things in just the right order, it probably won't crash. They knew their phone radios would crash during that 90 minutes. They were likely to. They would crash and restart. And they didn't want people in the audience to see that. So instead of showing the actual number of bars, because it would suddenly go to 0 and then come back up to 5 after a while, they painted in basically 5 bars all the time. They just changed the software. It's always 5 bars. It's a fascinating story. And it really, even though only 7 years ago, reminds us of how far we have come, even in that time. Even in that time. And this Amazon thing contains the same kind of radios, contains the same kind of hardware, the chips and all of that, the memory and all of that. But it's a commodity product that they can sell for $99. Fascinating. I haven't reviewed it yet. I literally just opened it minutes ago because it just came. But I will have a review for you by next week. I'll hook it up to the TV system. It doesn't look like it's anything groundbreaking, although Amazon pushed, and I think this is different. This is new. The gaming side of it. Neither Apple nor Roku, both have some kind of limited gaming, but they haven't pushed the gaming. This basically plays Android games. I think that's interesting. They showed off Asphalt 8, which is a driving game. Very nice on a phone, but it's on a phone it's a little bit small, and it's put it on your 60-inch television, have a joystick. Maybe that's a good game. I don't know. I'll let you know. It's certainly an interesting product for $99. And of course, the game itself is only a few bucks, and that's what's interesting about mobile gaming. This is taking, really, this Amazon Fire TV is taking all the stuff that we've worked out on mobile and putting it in the living room, returning it back to the non-mobile environment. What an interesting idea. And what an interesting world we live in. We could talk about that. 8888 Ask Leo. I've had a week now with the HTC One phone, the second generation HTC One. What a beautiful, lovely, wonderful phone. Adore it. Lots of good things to say about that. You can ask me about that or other phones on the market. New ones coming. Microsoft had its big build conference and announced some very interesting stuff. In fact, the new Windows Phone 8.1 that they demonstrated, which will be available later this month, is very impressive. Microsoft's playing catch-up, but they're doing a good job. They also announced that, and this is very interesting, Windows will be free for anything with a screen of 9 inches or less for the manufacturer. That means they want to get in this marketplace with Android that the Amazon Fire TV lives in. That didn't cost them anything to put Android in the Fire TV. Won't cost them anything to put Windows in it either from now on. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888, Ask Leo. Dogfight is a really interesting, well, at least so far. I'm only in the second chapter. And you know, you can read that iPhone story. Actually, they excerpted that on Wired. So you just want to get a taste of the book. Look for Fred Vogelstein on Wired. Whatever could it be? A second unboxing. Oh, this is interesting. This is, I think, a Kickstarter or something. I ordered this so long ago, I forgot. This is my OBD3 thing, right? So this plugs into the OBD3 on my, boy, I have a lot of stuff I could review next week on Before You Buy. This plugs in, why am I out of focus? There we go. To the port, you know, all modern cars have an OBD3 port. Yeah, no, it's fine. Autofocus is good because sometimes I want to do stuff like this, and it's good that it will focus. It's just slow. And then you put the app on your phone, and it talks via Bluetooth LE, the low-energy Bluetooth, to your phone, and tells you things like what's going on. Now, it looks like it needs an iPhone, which really sucks, because I don't have one anymore. I bought this ages ago. Yes, it resets fault codes. Clear that little check engine light. Who needs that check engine light? Just clear that right away. Track your trips and drive score. Automatically call for help in a crash. That's kind of interesting. And this is really cool. Always remember where you parked. So it knows where your car is somehow. Hello, trusty Canuck. Yeah, see that plug? That's for the OBD3 or whatever they call it, port. So most cars have these under the dash, but then you have to put the software on your phone, and it talks to your phone. I think this must have been a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo. Oh, look, I got a sticker. This looks pretty good. But I must have contributed this to years ago. It's a Fire, an Amazon Fire TV on the horizon. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. You know, when I first got into this business, and this was a long time ago. In the late 70s, you don't even remember that time period. But in the late 70s, when technology really was starting to take off, and it really was things like gaming machines, the Commodore 64, stuff like that, Apple II, Atari 800, Atari 400, these things were starting to take off, and I got very excited by them. And I started writing about them in magazines for one reason only, because it turned out if you wanted to get, first of all, software and hardware is very expensive. A floppy disk drive for my Atari 800 was like $600. So stuff was really expensive. So if you wanted to kind of keep up and find out what was new and cool, either you had to have tons of money, which I didn't, or you would find, you know, you'd start reviewing these things for magazines if you could write, and I could, so I did. And I started writing for magazines, and you'd get the free software. Most of the time with software, you got to keep it. You'd have to send hardware back, but at least you'd get to try it, get to know what's good. So I started reviewing in the magazines, and I remember at the time thinking, you know, my real goal is I just always want the latest, greatest stuff. I don't want to have to sit and look through the shop window and drool, although many times I did and still do, because this stuff's really expensive. I remember looking at the Lisa computer from Apple in 82, 81, and looking through the window at our little Apple store, and it was $10,000. And that's when $10,000 was $10,000. I mean, it would be probably the equivalent of $20,000 today or more. And you're looking at that going, that's a car. I can't afford that. I can't get that. But so I wanted a way to do, and so unfortunately, be careful what you wish for. Because now, because of my job and because I have a little more wherewithal, and because I have to. Now I have to get all the new stuff like the Amazon Fire, and stuff arrives every day, and it's a little overwhelming, frankly. I just want to go home with my one phone and my one TV set and just watch that. Thank you. We have a museum of old technology here in the Brick House studios, our Tech Guy Labs. There's an Amiga in the basement. There's a Commodore PET. All sorts of stuff. Some of it's mine. Some of it's from fans. It's fun to see it all. I have my first iPhone right back here. I have the first Android phone right back here. The first iPod sitting behind me. The Newton, several editions. It's all here in my little tech museum. Heather, it's enough about me. Let's talk to our audience. Who's calling in here?
You and your toys. James in Woodland Hills is thinking about getting a new toy.
I wanted to work in the toy store. And now that I am, it's like when you work in a bakery. You think donuts would be great. Everyday donuts would be great. You work in a bakery, and then suddenly you realize I don't want another donut. You ever work in an ice cream shop or a candy store or anything like that?
I kind of did. Ice cream.
It turns you off ice cream after a while.
Yeah.
No, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe you still like ice cream. James in Woodland Hills, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, James.
Hi, Leo. How are you today?
I'm very well. How are you?
I am great, and thanks for taking my phone call. It's a pleasure to talk to you and always to listen to your show.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. You do a great job. So, speaking of the great job that you do, I need your advice on something. I'm about to get, and yes, I know I'm a little behind the curve, my first data phone. I am considering either getting something a little bit older, and I've read some reviews on CNET and a couple of other mags that says the Galaxy S3 is a great phone.
Yes.
For what it is.
I agree.
Okay, thanks. Well, that points me in a direction I was thinking and hoping to go anyway. And then I just heard you talking about the HTC One version 2. So just some thoughts on those things. Obviously, no, it's not obvious. From my perspective, I do not want to go iPhone.
When you're first starting out in this thing, it's tempting to say, well, I don't need anything too fancy, so I'm going to get last year's model or the year before's model. In general, I don't think that's a good idea. You'll miss out on a lot of improvements that people have made. Now, having said that, the Galaxy S3 was the best Galaxy phone. With the S4 and the soon-to-come S5, Samsung has really gone crazy with the customizations. And in almost every respect, Samsung's version is worse than the standard Google version. And then you get it to a carrier, and the carrier adds 15 other programs. I just got this HTC One I got is from Verizon, and Verizon, in their infinite wisdom, has decided that they can write a better SMS application than either HTC or Google. So it comes with Verizon's messages installed. I prefer to use the Google version. It's not available. So, okay, I'll use the HTC version. Well, okay, but you can't get rid of the Verizon version. These things, this is frustrating. That's why the S3 really was, in many ways, the last great Galaxy phone. However, I don't think it is up to date in that sense. The processors are relatively slow these days. And you may say, well, I don't know the difference. But when you get applications, they're written for faster processors. You know, it's like buying last year's computer. It saves you money, but it's going to just mean it's obsolete that much faster.
Right. I completely understand what you're saying. I'm kind of in the same boat with my computer as well. But let me address let's address this issue with the phone. And I really appreciate what you're saying to me. So thank you very much. What I want to be clear on then is maybe your 3 top recommendations.
Yeah, I'll give you one straight up that you should absolutely get. And it's great for your first smartphone for sure. It has some wonderful features that you may not use initially, but you will come to use. And that's what else happens is you grow and you expand to fit the phone. So get a phone that has somewhere to go with it. And that's the Motorola Moto X.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it has not been getting a lot of attention. And that's because the trade press is very focused on specs. Whoa, it's a 720p screen, not a 1080p screen. It's not the fastest processor out there. They focus on specs instead of usability. But in terms of pure usability, there is no Android phone better, period. It is fantastic. It's the one phone you can talk to directly when I'm driving, for instance, and I think everybody would like this, and a text message comes in, the phone says, Leo, you just got a text message. Would you like me to read it to you? And I'll say yes, and then it reads it to me, and then it says, would you like to reply? I say yes. I can dictate a response. It says, okay, here's what I think you said. It reads it to me. Is this what you would like me to send? And I say yes, and it sends a response. I can also say, send the canned response, which is, I'm sorry, I'm driving right now. I can't talk, but I'll get back to you as soon as I arrive. No other smartphone does that. And it's little
That's
things
pretty
like
amazing.
It's little things like that that you quickly become addicted to, for want of a better word. I think for a lot of people, if you don't have an investment in Apple or Google at this point, the Windows phones are also very good to look at. How important is a camera to you in the phone?
I don't really give it a lot of thought, but
that's another example of something you may not use right now because you don't have one. But the minute you have one, you go, this is great. I'm never... Hang on, we'll talk about that when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's so funny because when you actually talk to people like me who do this all the time, a surprisingly high proportion of them do have Moto X's. It's kind of one of those things where they go, oh, that's not a bad phone. Here, I'll switch to this so you know. Look who's here, Scotty. Hi, Scotty.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
Yeah.
Doing good. Can't wait to hear your impression of the Fire TV.
1080p.
Well, so's Apple, so's Roku. Roku 3 anyway.
It has Amazon, Hulu Plus, Netflix, ESPN, Bloomberg, Crackle, Showtime. Does not have
Twit.
Does not have HBO Go. Does not have Twit. Although, because it can do Android apps, I think we could easily add Twit. We'll have to talk to our Android folks. TuneIn Radio, which I like, we're on that. iHeartRadio, we're on that. Pandora. And then games. I think games are the thing that they're kind of doing this.
See, I think so too. Yeah. That's really the thing that differentiates. Yeah.
It's got Dolby. Oh, and then it has voice search. So there's a
Dolby Digital Plus, I think.
Yes. Well, let me see. It just says Dolby on the front. I don't know.
Yeah. Mark Henninger, my colleague at AVS Forum, wrote about it when it first came out, and I believe he said it was Dolby Digital Plus, which is a somewhat better compression scheme.
Connect via dual band, dual antenna, wireless, or Ethernet. 7.1 channel Dolby Digital Plus surround sound.
There you go. Yeah, 7 channels.
I just got my surrounds put in. I haven't hooked them up yet, but
ooh, cool.
I had the electrician come wire up through the wall. So
excellent.
The wires are hanging out of the wall. I just have to hang up. The
you just have to put those speakers up there.
Yep.
Is that in your main room?
It's both in the living room and my office.
Ah, okay, good.
I have two kind of good setups, television setups. One, the living room is the Viera because it's the biggest.
Right.
And then in my den is kind of my experimental facility. So that's where the Amazon.
Your lab.
My lab. The Amazon will probably go. I'll take the Apple TV out of there, put that in the living room, and take the Amazon. And I have a TiVo now. I just got the TiVo Romeo Plus.
Oh, the Romeo. What do you think? I haven't tried that yet.
Well, for one reason alone, I've got it because on Comcast's on Comcast On Demand, they have very annoying women from E! Constantly gabbling about shows you're supposed to watch. And so when you're in the On Demand, you hear that the whole time while you're selecting, and the UI is terrible, so you're spending a lot of time in the UI selecting. Yeah. Now, it goes away as soon as you start playing, but as soon as the show ends, or if you pause it for long enough, they come back. and they're really annoying. This doesn't do that. So for that reason alone, 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Scott Wilkinson is our home theater guy. And by the way, don't go anywhere, James. I'm going to finish helping you buy your first smartphone in a second. But Scott joins us every week at this time, and I always forget. So thank you for showing up to talk about home theater. Hi, Scott.
Hey, happy to be here. Hi, Leo.
Scott, editor-in-chief of the AVS Forum at avsforum.com, and he does our Home Theater Geeks podcast. I saw Gene Goldoff on this week. That was really interesting.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a very interesting guy. You know, last week was my 200th episode.
That's not possible.
It is.
You just started doing Home Theater Geeks. Is it
over
really?
4 years ago. Over 4 years.
Oh, I find that amazing, Scott. I don't know where time is going.
You know, I don't either. It goes faster and faster.
Wow.
It really does. You know, CES is going to be upon us in any minute.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, he was great. And so I highly recommend people watch that show. It's twit.tv/HTG for your on-demand versions. So what do you want to talk about today?
Well, got plenty of things to talk about, as always. Tomorrow, I head off to the NAB show, National Association of Broadcasters, where I am going to be looking specifically for any news about 4K or UHD from the professional's point of view. Now, you might wonder, why is a guy like me who covers the consumer side of things going to a professional show? Well, what the professionals do affects what we, the consumers, see and hear at home. So I'm very interested in finding out what is going on with the standardization of UHD, Ultra HD, which is the next generation of TV, and it's coming on strong. A lot of companies, a lot of TV manufacturers are building 4K or UHD TVs, and that term really refers to the resolution of the TV. Nowadays, we have high definition, which is 1080p. I've heard you use that term many times. 1920 pixels across by 1080 pixels up and down. UHD is going to be 4 times that number of pixels. And we've talked about that on the show before. And my position on that is, well, unless you have a gargantuan screen, a ginormous screen, it's not going to make that much difference. You're not going to see that much difference in detail. But what is important is how they're going to handle what's called dynamic range. That is the difference between the darkest part of the image and the brightest part of the image. And they're talking about, particularly Dolby is sort of spearheading this effort to really increase that significantly. And when you see a display that has that increased dynamic range, and it's displaying content that has been mastered or what's called graded to that expanded dynamic range, the difference is amazing. I mean, if they did that on high definition TVs, people would stop and do a double take and go, what? It's quite remarkable. So the problem is that the standard for UHD, how it's going to be delivered to the home, either by broadcast or on some sort of disc, it's probably going to get delivered online, first of all. That's going to be the first method of delivery. How is that going to be standardized? How is the content going to be graded by the professionals, by the director of the movie when he goes into the coloring suite and supervises how it gets finished for the consumer? That hasn't been determined yet. That's not finalized. It's not in a spec anywhere. So I'm on a mission to look and find out where we are in that process, where the professionals are in that process, and when can we expect to see content with this high dynamic range. Another issue is color gamut, the range of colors that the TV can reproduce. We're hoping that UHD, the standard, the eventual standard, will have a much broader range of colors that can be reproduced. For example, today, in today's TV system, you cannot reproduce the true color of Coca-Cola red, right? The red that Coke uses for their cans and ads and everything. It's not within the range of colors that the current system can reproduce. So that's another area where I'm not sure what kind of range of colors are they going to standardize on. I'm also going to look for other things like laser projectors, mostly in commercial cinemas. Christie is one of the main providers of projectors for commercial cinemas, and I know they're going to be showing laser illuminated projectors. That's an up and coming thing. Also, high frame rate. We saw The Hobbit, the 2 Hobbit movies, in 48 frames per second. And I'm really looking to see what is going to be coming down the pike in that regard too, because that's a real game changer. Some people don't like it, just like some people don't like 3D. You're not a big fan of 3D. Have you seen high frame rate?
You know, I still haven't. I meant to go see The Hobbit that way. You can only see it in the theater, right?
You can only see it in the theater. There's no way to show high frame rate at home, which is what we're hoping for this UHD standard.
Right.
Is will it support a high frame rate? TVs today can do it. LCD TVs certainly that have 120 hertz refresh rate or 240 hertz. Now it's used for this thing called frame interpolation, which reduces motion blur, but it also creates this really plasticky look. I know that you really don't like it.
Yeah, I turn that off.
You turn that off, exactly. Most people do, and they live with the blurrier image.
But that's different from high frame rate, because that's adding frames that don't exist and there's no data for, so you're just frame doubling in effect. But high frame rate is actually capturing more data, so it should be more accurate. And I don't know does it have that plasticky effect? I think it's just more accurate.
It is more accurate. Some people, when they went and saw The Hobbit, thought that it did have that plasticky
They
look
said that
to it.
Gandalf's staff in the first Hobbit looked like he bought it at, Staffs R Us. It looked like it was made of resin.
Made out of resin, yeah. Exactly.
And it probably was. And I think that's one thing that will have to change. Filmmakers are going to have to pay more attention to props and makeup, and they'll have to be more real.
Just as they did with high definition.
Yeah. Just as they did when they went to color. I mean, this is, they used to use they used to paint people's faces yellow because on the old silent films, yellow makeup looked more like normal skin tone. Right. And blood, of course, didn't have to be red. It could be black because nobody saw it. So that's changed, and I think they're going to have to change again. But I don't think high frame rate is the same issue as the video effect. I think it's going to look better once filmmakers use it right.
Right. But then, of course, you need to transport it from the set-top box or player or whatever to your TV. And we now have a new HDMI standard. I think we talked about that last week. That's not yet. I don't think that's going to be able to carry high frame rate plus extend.
So I was talking at the beginning of the show about this Fire TV, the new Amazon TV box. It's just a Me Too box along with the Apple TV and the Roku and everything else. But the point I made is all of these now, and you mentioned it, are a 1080p because commoditized, inexpensive, consumer-grade hardware can do it. So what happens is there's the next generation of standard, and we have to catch up to that, and that's normal. So
it is normal.
It's normal. It's what happens, and if you're going to have innovation, you're going to have things like this. Well, we need more bandwidth. We need more chips. We need more processing power. We need, and then eventually, in 5 years, you'll be able to buy a $99 4K box. I remember very well we first started doing podcasts in 1080p, and no one was doing this. It was nutty, and nobody could watch it because it would just stutter on any existing computer platform. Well, that was a few years ago, and it's changed.
Now it's cool.
AVSforum.com, Scott Wilkinson, the Home Theater Geek. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, chocolate. They use chocolate for blood.
Right.
Because it didn't have to be red.
Right.
It just had to be goopy.
It had to have the right consistency, the right flow rate.
Right. Those things have changed.
Yes, indeed. And as you say, the cycle of innovation continues.
Yeah.
In a lot of people think, and it's partly true at least, that an awful lot of manufacturers are looking for, well, what can we sell people next? The penetration rate of HD into homes is, I don't know, 70, 80%, something like that. It's huge.
Right.
So now they got to find something else some other type of TV to sell people.
Right.
But I got to tell you, if you ever get a chance to see high dynamic range, go down to San Francisco and make an appointment and go see Dolby and have them show you that. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's really amazing.
Yeah, I need to do that. So that's different from high frame rate.
Correct. That's just a wider range of.
And is that in theaters or is it only in like Dolby?
No,
it's like special. Yeah, they invited me recently to see something. I wonder if that was an HDR. It probably was.
It might have been.
Yeah.
If next time you get a chance, you should see that because it really is amazing.
I like HDR, but again, HDR in stills, people have gone too far. That's often the case with something. Oh, it looks horrible. It's not realistic.
Well, you have to know what you're doing.
It's gimmicky.
Yeah, well, the video that I've seen was not gimmicky.
Good.
It really was like looking out a window.
Yeah.
You know, HD was always touted as, oh, it's like looking out a window. And now 4K or UHD is, oh, it's more like looking out a window. But when you have high dynamic range, HDR, it really does look like you're looking out a window.
Well, I'm looking at my email and see if I have another invitation. They've been trying to get me to go down there. I thought it was just for Atmos.
Well, that's worth checking out too. That also is a wonderful thing. But that's only in commercial cinemas. That's not at home. No, but they want me to go to the Dolby Theater in San Francisco to try it. They won't show you high frame rate in a commercial cinema because high dynamic range.
Maybe if I go to an Atmos demo, they'll do the HFR or HDR rather.
That has to be that would be on a special LCD TV that they've built as a demonstration.
Yeah, so no, it's Dolby Atmos and Dolby 3D. That was at the Dolby Labs on Potrero.
Right. Dolby 3D in the theater with their kind of glasses, I'm not impressed with.
Oh, really?
No.
Well, good. I'm glad I didn't go then. And so, but you said that they did an HDR thing for you.
Yes, they did, and they will do it at the NAB show, and they will.
Oh, okay. So you can see it at NAB.
Oh yeah, I've seen it before as well. That's on a flat panel TV with 10 times the dynamic range of a normal TV. And what's important is that they're showing content that has been graded with that wide dynamic range, that high dynamic range.
Right.
The Sue, the writer, is asking if I'm talking about the 8K display at CES. No, that was at Sharp. They might have had Dolby Vision. Dolby's high dynamic range technology, they've named it Dolby Vision. And I think Sharp did show that. They are partners with Dolby on that.
Cool. You look like you're in high frame rate. You're really looking good lately.
Thank you.
They've got it going on.
They've got it going on.
I mean, it's zoomed is perfect. The lighting is. Did you have some lighting done?
I did have some lighting done.
Yeah. Really. And, lighting is everything. With really those cheesy cameras, it's fine if you have good lighting. Yeah. As long as you have good lighting.
Yeah. Well, this is a Logitech C920.
Yeah, it's a good camera.
It's a good camera.
And give it good light. You're good.
I also zoomed it out a bit. John suggested that I do that.
Yeah, it was a little zoomed in. Yeah.
Exactly. So I zoomed it out. You see a little bit more of myself. Sure.
You all ready for your first smartphone? Bow, bow, do, 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 do. That's what James in Woodland Hills is getting ready for. His very first smartphone. Oh, it's an exciting moment when a guy gets his first smartphone. You'll never forget that moment. There's some things you're going to hate about it, James. Typing on the screen is annoying. Maybe the screen is a little smaller than you'd like, and so it's a little frustrating, especially if you're used to a computer, you know, browsing and things like that. On the other hand, the idea of having a powerful computer always on the internet, always in your pocket, is life-changing. I mean, you find you're doing things with your phone that you didn't expect, looking for restaurants, asking it to remind you about things, getting directions, and even just looking at, you know, pictures and tweets. We ended by, I said, do you like to take pictures? And you said you might. And it's certainly something that when you get a good smartphone, you discover very quickly that the pictures that you have on that are good enough. And the fact that you can quickly and instantly share them with friends or put them online is amazing. And then you start taking more pictures. That's why the explosion of Instagram, for instance.
That's great, because that in part answers what I was going to ask you, because that's not that I'm so interested in Instagram per se, but certainly if I want to give somebody or share something with someone via Facebook or otherwise. Yeah, that's great.
You do all sorts of crazy things, like your glasses shopping. This happened to me, and I was alone, and so I took pictures of myself in 5 different frames, I posted them, but you would maybe send them to your friend and say, "What do you think?" And that's something you would never think of before, and it suddenly changes things. I mean, it really does change things, and it's useful. So now the Moto X, or the Moto G, its low-priced little brother, don't have great cameras. They're okay. And since you don't have any experience, you may not say, oh, these aren't great. But there are better cameras out there. You heard me mention the HTC One, the new one. That has a superb camera. And I think is a very good phone. And unlike the previous version of the HTC One and the Samsung Galaxy phones, while they have their own user interface that we call these skins on top of the generic Android interface, it isn't bad. So often it's bad. Samsungs are actually getting annoyingly bad. But HTC is using a lighter hand, and so it's closer to plain Android. Motorola's is closer still. And I say vanilla and plain, but I shouldn't, because it really is better. Android, when it first came out, the interface was bad enough that companies like Motorola felt like we've got to do our own version on here. Android got better. They continued to do that, and partly because they want to differentiate. If you buy a Galaxy phone, it looks and works and feels very different than an HTC phone, even though they're running the same operating system. It's as if when you bought a Dell PC, it had a different version of Windows than when you bought an HP PC. It would be very confusing. So I like the plain version of Windows. In fact, it's even true on PCs. You know, as close to Microsoft Original Vision, the better. So for that reason, I do actually like the Moto X a lot. It's very plain, and the additions that they've made to it make it much more useful. It's also a better size. It fits better in my hand. I think the ergonomics, they paid a lot of attention to what we call ergonomics, the feel, how it works physically, and they nailed it. So,
excellent.
So who's your carrier?
Thank you. I'm with, actually, my wife and I are with T-Mobile.
Oh, perfect. They have both. So you can try both. In fact, T-Mobile, they are rapidly gaining market share. They used to be a weak fourth because they have really become aggressive about giving people what they want. What a concept.
Hey, what a concept.
What a concept. So, so I think you have the right carrier. And I would go down there to the T-Mobile store and just say, hey, show me a few phones, and feel how it's the most personal of personal computers. And so it is important that you feel comfortable with it. It's hard to judge because you don't have, it's your first one. But I think the Moto X or the Moto G would be a very good first choice.
Okay, excellent. I have used 1 or 2 different smartphones that friends and family, my younger sons, of course, who are in that technology age range. Yeah. So what
do they say? What do they think you should get?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't had that discussion with them. I know my youngest son, who's in his mid-20s, actually is not a big Apple fan himself, and he likes Samsungs and a few other things.
Samsung's the Walmart of smartphones by spending literally hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing, by being ubiquitous, by everybody carrying them. They've done very well. They are easily the #1 Android phone, and they're rivaling the iPhone for acceptance. But I don't think they're the best out there. I really wouldn't recommend. And your kids will, maybe, because that's what everybody they know uses. But there are better choices. Try the Moto X. Be different, Dad. You could say, hey, well, you know, I actually like the Moto X. And they'll go, whoa, well, what does that do? And you show them. You start talking to it. You can say things to the Moto X is in your pocket. You could say, okay, Google now. That wakes it up. Okay, Google now. Listen to Alicia Keys. And it will start playing Alicia Keys music.
Nice.
That is nice.
It is nice, yeah.
That's really nice. You could say, okay, Google now, wake me up at 7 p.m. And it will.
Very cool.
Yeah, you quickly get addicted to it.
Okay, so Moto X is, for the situation I described for you, your thought is that's the best choice for me at this point.
I think so, for a first smartphone. The other thing you should look at is a Windows phone. New users aren't as bothered by the fact that Windows Phone doesn't have as many applications as the other two.
Okay.
But oh boy, the best cameras out there. I'm not sure which one T-Mobile offers, and they may not offer them in stores. You have to kind of maybe look online and see which ones. But the 1520 is big. Maybe that's a little too big for you. But any Nokia, look at the Nokia models. I have to look and see which T-Mobile sells. But I have to say they're very, very nice phones. And I've been very happy with the operating system. It gets better, too, by the way. They've announced the update, 8.1, which will be available in a month or so. And that's going to make a very nice update to this. So I'm more and more impressed with Windows Phone. Yeah, they have the Lumia 521. That's kind of a low-end, not low-end, but mid-range one. Not a bad choice.
Okay.
I hate to give you too many choices because that kind of negates why you know what they also offer, which I really like, is and actually for affordability, it's very good, is the Nexus 5. That's the Google phone. That's the phone sold by Google. It's pure Google. It's $350. That's unsubsidized, out the door.
Okay.
And then if you look at Windows phones, look at the Lumia 925. They do sell that, and that's a very good one. So,
all right,
so here's your assignment. I don't think they have the Moto X in the store, but if they do, look at that. Look at the Nexus 5, and then which is the most inexpensive and yet in many ways one of the best quality phones out there, and then the Lumia 925, which has the best camera of the three.
Okay, so Nexus 5 and the Lumia.
Nexus 5 Lumia, yeah, and Moto X.
Okay. Excellent. I will do that.
All right.
I really appreciate your time.
Sure, sure. This is an interesting question because it's your first time.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
My first time. That's hilarious. Well, I'm going to wind up getting two of these, one for myself and one for my wife. And my wife is she's not a tech person at all. She's not big on tech, but that sounds great.
Moto G is a good choice for her.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Ask you one more real quick.
Sure.
I know you covered this a week or two ago because again I was listening to the show as I do somewhat religiously.
Thank you.
My pleasure. It's a great show. I have an older iMac, self-contained computer desktop, and when I do certain applications, I find I get the beach ball.
Yeah.
And it just comes to...
Yeah, this is a problem on all Macs. Could be a lot of causes, though. It means the Mac is working. Now, it could be a failure in the program, could be a failure in the operating system, could be hard drive failure. When hard drives, and this happens on all computers, as they get older, they get harder to read. And the beach ball may be just the Apple saying, hey, I'm trying to read the hard drive. Hold on a sec. And it's like the hard drive is hard of hearing. No, give me that file. What? Give me that, and eventually they get the file, the beach ball goes away, and it continues on.
Right.
But that especially in an older machine, that's often an indicator of a bad hard drive. But it could be other things too. That symptom is hard to diagnose.
Understood. So
it is an old machine. It might be time to look at a new iMac.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for the call, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. They call it a beach ball like it's a good thing. Nobody thinks it's a good thing anymore. I know that. Here's Scott Wilkinson with more Home Theater Geekery.
Yes, so, hey, everybody in the chat room. I was just typing a note to Logan5, who talked about getting a new pair of Sony headphones, the MDR ZX100. And they don't sound as they don't have as much bass apparently as the old Pioneer SE32. Main difference is a difference in impedance, 24 ohms versus 32 ohms. And does that affect the dynamic range? I don't think so. I don't think that's really the issue. It's probably just the design of the headphones, the drivers that they're using. That's going to have a much greater effect on that than whether it's 24 or 32 ohms. Not much difference there. That's all. The impedance, by the way, is the headphones. Also, all speakers have impedance. All electronic devices have impedance, but it's generally speaking the resistance to alternating current. So the higher the impedance, the more resistance there is, the less current that the device draws from the power amp. So if we're talking about speakers, the typical impedance is 8 ohms. And if you drop down to 4 ohms, then the speaker is less resistant to the current coming from the amplifier. And so it's going to try and draw more current, and the amplifier is going to have to work harder. Now, if the amplifier is designed to accommodate a 4 ohm speaker, then you're fine. It's just going to deliver more power. But if it isn't designed for a 4 ohm speaker, you could, in fact, damage the amplifier and or the speaker. But the difference between 24 and 32 ohms is pretty minor, so I wouldn't really worry about that. Hey, Sarah Jane, UK, I wave back at you from across the pond. Absolutely. Janiscu7 asks, would you believe that voice control coming to TVs? Yes, I would. I imagine that will probably happen. We certainly have it with phones, as Leo's been talking about. There's no reason for it not to come to TVs, so I would not be terribly surprised to see that. Martin in Europe asks, what's the best material for speakers of living room size? Wood, marble, glass? Great question, actually. Most speakers, cabinets, are made out of wood or more likely MDF, medium density fiberboard, which is kind of a composite type material. I have seen speakers made out of glass. There are several in Europe actually made. There's one company called Perfect 8 in Sweden, I believe. I'm not 100% sure about that, that make glass speakers. I've never seen marble or stone speakers. You know, it's a good question. The glass speakers are very, very expensive. They use this really high-grade glass. I haven't necessarily been all that impressed with them. Theoretically speaking, I get you want the cabinet to be as inert as possible. You don't want it to flex and vibrate and resonate. So in that sense, you know, stone or glass might be really good. But I don't know very many people who have made stone speakers. So, you know, if anybody in the chat room does, I'd love to hear about it, and I'll go check them out. Let's see here. McButterpants, my favorite, one of my favorite screen names. When to buy into 4K? And this is a great question. In my opinion, the time to buy into 4K is once there is a standard in place, which I was talking about on the show, and there are TVs that can reproduce the elements of that standard, and there's content graded to that standard. Now, that's going to be a while. And so I hesitate almost to say don't buy into 4K till then, because but for early adopters, we would never get anywhere. But we're not going to see those enhancements probably for another couple of years. And whether or not studios actually produce that content with those higher standards, the greater dynamic range and wider color gamut and so on, it's again a chicken and egg problem. They're not going to do it until there's an installed base at home that can see it. And there's not going to be an installed base at home until there's content to watch on it. So it's a real tricky problem, and it's happened before. So, you know, it has worked its way out in the past, so I expect it to here too. Cadman says, are there actually some made of stone, or do they only look to be made of stone? Well, that may be true. You might have genuine photograph of stone on the outside of the speaker that's otherwise made out of MDF. Clips showed that it's not the material, but the shape of the horn. They used many materials with the same shaped horn and found no sound difference. Well, Main Guide, that's in the chat room, is saying that. And certainly in regards to horns, which are not the overall cabinet of the speaker, but rather the tweeter typically, has a particular shape. And you see it mostly in commercial cinemas. In movie theaters use horn speakers, although you can't see those speakers because they're behind the screen. Nevertheless, so Klipsch has determined that the material doesn't matter. Okay, but that's how the sound is coming out of the out of the actual little driver, the tweeter driver, and proceeding down this horn, which is meant to shape how the sound comes out of the speaker. That's not the same as the material that the cabinet is made out of. Dr. Mom found some Stone speakers, Stereo Stone USA. Well, I do know that I'm pretty sure that they make outdoor speakers. Yes, in fact, they do make outdoor speakers. That's what they do. And I'm not sure that they're made out of stone. I bet you they're made out of resin, to tell you the truth. They're meant to look like stones, look like rocks that are in your garden so that they're disguised. But I don't think they're actually made out of rock. S. Garmine 1 in the chat room says, when they say they're presenting 4K in the theaters, are they actually projecting in 4K? Great question. The answer is not always. A lot of film studios, movie studios, deliver the DCP, the digital cinema package, with a resolution of 2K, and then if they have a 4K projector in the booth in the theater, it will upscale it to 4K, but it's not true 4K. Now, in some cases, you are getting true 4K resolution, but it's interesting to me that 4K in the 2K rather in the theater, if you have a 2K projector and you're looking at a 30 or 40 foot wide screen and it looks perfectly smooth and natural, who's going to see the difference between 2K and 4K at home at any kind of normal home-sized theater? You're not going to see the difference. You are going to see the difference with high dynamic range. No question about that. User 4683 asks, should I get the Beats Solo HD headphones? I've never actually listened to Beats headphones, so I can't say from personal experience, but from people that I know, they're not generally the best headphones. They are very stylish, and they're very well marketed, so that's why they're so popular. And in fact, they're often credited for the renaissance in high-quality audio. Here we go.
Thanks, Scott. Take care.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, hello there. Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk about computers and the internet and home theater and, of course, smartphones, how to buy them, how to choose them, how to lose them when you're done, how to abuse them. We also talk about digital photography, anything with a chip in it. My phone number is 888-827-5536. If it's easier, the mnemonic, the short version is 8888 Ask Leo. 8888 Ask Leo. Our website, easy to remember that too, techguylabs.com. See, I'm the tech guy, and these are my labs. Techguylabs.com. And you'll find there not only the phone number, but a link to our wonderful chat room. Always fun to be in there. The smart kids in the back of the class, shouting suggestions, but also helping and answering questions. And you'll also find each and every show, audio and video, plus questions and answers. So it's a great place to go if you want to say, what were they talking about? What was that thing they mentioned? It's all there at techguylabs.com. Show by show, question by question. Your comments are appreciated too. You can add those. Always free, no subscription required, and always will be. techguylabs.com. Let's move on to Lloyd in Huntington Beach, California. Hi, Lloyd. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello, Leo. I appreciate you taking my call. Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
I happen to have a problem in this world, and you were talking about unwanted software getting on the computer from various sources in the form of programs.
Yeah.
And I had a Trojan horse come in and give me the redirect virus.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I am too. And from what I've seen online, when I look it up, it is miserable. There's one organization.
What makes you think you have it?
It says redirect. It keeps popping up.
Okay.
And every time I try and
the purpose of the redirect virus, of course, is to change your browser's behavior.
Yes.
So when you go to the home page or you do a search and click a result link, you get the wrong page or you get an ad page. Is that the case?
Yes, I get an ad page or a direct to something.
Yes.
My software may be out outdated, for instance.
And then what they're trying to do is get you to put something else on the system. People often fall for that, or give them money. Sometimes they say, for $300, we'll fix this problem.
That's right.
So this is how bad guys make money, is they trick you into putting their software on their system. In order for this to happen, you've got to agree somehow, either by going to a website, being fooled by a website that says, you're something wrong, fix this, or be fooled by a friend. Sometimes it comes from a friend who's also infected. You click a link in their email to you or their message to you on Facebook, and suddenly you're installing something. And once you get it on there, as you're discovering, it's a devil to get it off.
It doesn't want to go away at all. It keeps popping back in different forms. It changes the text.
Yeah.
And when I look it up on, for instance, Google, there are people that sell software as you.
Okay, so if I'm a bad guy, think about this for a moment.
Yeah.
My whole goal in life is to get you to run my software, which puts my bad stuff on there. One of the things I might do, I don't know, it seems like a good idea, create a website that says it fixes the redirect virus. Download and install this. In fact, if I'm really greedy, I might say for $50. And desperate people will give me $50, download the software, and maybe it will or maybe it won't fix redirect, but one thing I can guarantee you, it will put something else on your system.
Yes.
So you have to be very careful about Googling virus names and then installing or trying the program recommended. It's not always a good idea.
I appreciate that. Thank you for that good point. I did not take anything from anybody.
You're wise now, man.
Yeah, well,
you learn your lesson. This only happens one hopes once.
Right.
Unfortunately, there really isn't a good way to get rid of this stuff. It's very persistent. It hides in places, and often it will have a visible result that, which is pretty obvious, but then an invisible result, which they're hoping you will not be aware of and then not remove. So one can bring it to an expert who will, and a lot of these guys are very cocky. No, I can get rid of that, no problem. You'll meet this guy. No problem. All we do is we run malware bytes, and we're going to then scan it, and it'll be all clear or whatever. Maybe he'll do 5 different tools. But what he can't promise you is that there isn't something else lurking that's been missed. And that thing might be more nefarious. That might be trying to steal your passwords. We don't know what it's doing.
Let me ask a question related to this then. Since this guy is on my computer, can it look at my banking, for instance, at my online bank?
Yeah. Once it's on your computer, it can do anything. It may or may not be. It doesn't. It's not necessarily what it's doing. In fact, that's a less common function only because it requires more intention from the hacker. Generally, the way this works is they emailed you something or somehow they got you to run something. By installing redirect on there, they're getting referral fees. It's only a penny. But guess what? If you get it on 1 million computers, that penny can add up fast.
Yeah, it does. Another thing that is frustrating, and I assume it's out of this, is Adobe 11, Adobe Reader 11. I keep getting information that I should downlink that.
Well, you may actually have been installed by that. You don't have that already?
I can't get it to load. Every time I start to load it, it shuts off.
So this is Reader is a common vector for these viruses. What bad guys discovered is, well, people seem to be patching Windows, darn it. They seem to be pretty good about that. So let's find another vector. Anything that goes online is a potential infection point. Anything that goes, because that's really where all these viruses have to come in over the internet. You're not hand carrying them in on a floppy disk anymore. So they come in over the internet. So anything that goes online, your browser, but what does your browser often call? Flash, sometimes Java, sometimes Reader. If you get to a PDF, it'll pull up Reader. So all of those things are unfortunately commonly attacked, and Adobe and Oracle, who was responsible for Flash, do not do a very good job of keeping them up to date. So they've had, and apparently there's a lot of bad code. So there have been a lot of attacks. So it may be that, in fact, this is how you got it in the first place.
Well, probably so. And I also do get a lot of email, and some of these things, click on it, open it up, and it takes you someplace you may not know where you're going.
Exactly. So what do we do now? Unfortunately, the best thing to do is the most troublesome. I think you see where I'm going here, is to format the drive and reinstall Windows.
Yeah.
You'll want to back up your data. Your data's probably okay, right? It's all malware has to get a program run on your system. It can either do that explicitly by you tricking you, or by taking advantage of a flaw in an operating system or a browser or something that goes on the internet that will trigger a program to run without your knowledge.
Okay.
So
well,
one of those two things has to happen. Yeah. So, but generally your data is safe. So back up your data.
It's on carbonite now.
Yeah, good man. I like that. I like to hear that. So you've got your data safe.
From you.
Yeah.
You got me going there.
I would still make a second local backup. It'll be faster to restore, just so you have it.
Right.
Belt and suspenders in this case. Always a good idea. You don't want to have only one copy of anything. And if you just rely on your carbonite, that's one copy. So make another copy that's local. Gather your apps, because you're going to want to reinstall Office and whatever. Gather whatever disks you have. I hope you have a reinstall disk from your operating system. That may be the system recovery disks that came with your computer or that you made when you got your computer. Many people don't.
Well, I have what I made when I got the computer going.
Man.
I have the software programming.
I love it. So what'll happen? This is good. You're an orderly person. So what will happen is it'll put your computer back to the way it was when you got it, which is a little old. So the next thing you immediately do is you get online and you download all the Windows updates to get it secure.
Okay.
Make sure you update your browser. Very important. In fact, if you're not using Internet Explorer 11, the latest version, then I would go out and get Chrome from Google and make.
I have Chrome on here now.
Oh, that's good. See, that keeps itself up to date automatically. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that.
It also uses Flash, so you don't have to install Flash. It has an up-to-date, clean version of Flash built in.
Any recommendation between Firefox and Internet Explorer?
No. Internet Explorer is the last I would use. Chrome and Firefox are roughly equal. On any given day, one can be better than the other. I tend to use Chrome all the time.
Okay, I'll go to that. I've been using Firefox, and
it's fine. It's fine.
I think I've had some trouble there.
Well, then go to Chrome, yeah. But the main thing is, unfortunately, you're going to have to wipe your computer at this point. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, it's the same thing as setting the PC back to the factory image. Our show is brought to you today by lynda.com. I talk about Lynda a lot because Lynda is a way to learn. And I know you listen because you like to learn. What do you want to learn today? lynda.com. Over 2,400 videos. I'm sorry, courses. I shouldn't say videos because each course is many videos. 2,496 courses to date. In every area, not just, the obvious stuff. Sure, of course, Photoshop, you bet. They got lots of that. They got photography, Illustrator, design. But there's stuff maybe that you didn't know lynda.com has, like business skills, like negotiation, resume building, developer skills. You can learn how to become a developer. You can learn how to write iOS apps. You can learn how to record audio and shoot video. There's a huge range of courses covering a huge variety of programs and ideas at lynda.com. And of course, we know all the instructors are fabulous. Bert Monroy does Photoshop and Illustrator. There's nobody better. Chris Breen. Many of my friends are actually teachers at lynda.com. I've known Linda Wyman, the founder, for many years. It's really the place I go and the place our employees go to learn how to use the software, to be better at their job, to use technology better. The latest, greatest Apple technology, learning about OS X Mavericks. They also already have a course, just came out on Office for the iPad. That's how fast lynda.com is. And if you're still using XP, they've got tutorials on migrating to the latest version of Windows. So what do you do if you want to try lynda.com? We got a great deal for you. A 7-day free trial. lynda.com/techguy. I'm sure you listen to the Tech Guy podcast because you're interested in learning how to use this stuff. Well, here's another way that's really great. I actually put it up on my big screen TV and watch with Lightroom. I've been doing that. Photography, but you can watch on your tablet, your desktop, and you pick up where you left off. They've got transcriptions of every course so that you can always jump to the part of the course you want to jump to. Normally $25 a month for access to the entire library. We're going to give it to you free for the next week. Go to lynda.com/techguy to find out more. I love Lynda. Here she is. lynda.com/techguy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo, that's the number. We were talking, and I got to do this once a show. Every show, I got to talk about malware and how to get rid of it and the fact that you really need to format and reinstall. But let me tell you how not to get it. Because the lesson here is it's the worst pain ever to get rid of it. So don't get it if you can help it in the first place. And you might say, oh, yeah, install a good antivirus. No. What? No, I'm not against antiviruses. No. But that's not the first thing. Here are I say it all the time, but obviously I have to say it again and again. Keep your system up to date. Always install operating system patches. And Tuesday is Patch Tuesday for Microsoft. So they're going to push out fixes. The critical ones are the one, they say critical patches are the security patches you need. That keeps people from just wandering into your system without your knowledge. And of course, we all know that Tuesday's the last day for Windows XP, the last Patch Tuesday. But you could still use XP safely, I believe. I'd like to see you upgrade. It's been 13 years. But I understand money's tight and you can't always get a new computer or get a new operating system. So you can still use XP safely. So everybody else keep updating. I know if you're on XP, Tuesday's the last one you're going to get. However, the next thing you should do, and this is true of all operating systems, particularly true on Windows, is not run as administrator. Do not run as administrator. The reason is the bad guy, when he gets on your system, inherits your power. He can only do what you can do. So you don't want to be able to do anything. You don't want to be all powerful. Yes, it's fun for you, but not good if the other guy gets it. So run as sometimes they call it a standard user, sometimes they call it a limited user. Just whatever the other thing is from administrator, do that. You'll probably want it. What you'll want to do is create an administrator account. You're currently administrator. Create a new account that says administrator, and then take your old account and downgrade it. What does that mean? Well, on Windows, it means two things. One, you'll probably have to give an administrator password anytime you want to do something like install software. That's good. It stops the bad guy cold because he doesn't know the administrator password, and it even slows you down. A speed bump's good because it makes you think, well, what am I doing? Do I want to install this software? Did I start this process or did somebody else? So it pauses. A speed bump's not a bad thing. In some cases, you'll actually have to log out of your existing account and log into the administrator account. Again, that's good. Don't look at that as a negative. That's a positive. It's protecting you. By the way, if you do that, recent studies showed that fixes 100% of all the exploits, all the attacks on Internet Explorer that came out last year. All of them. And 92% of all the attacks against other things on the operating system. So you just eliminated more than 90%. 9 out of 10 of all attacks are just useless. They won't work because you're not running as administrator. That's nice. I don't like Internet Explorer. That's not because it's so horrible, but because that's what the bad guys aim for. Use Chrome. And if you do, you can remove Flash from your operating system, another target for bad guys. Adobe Flash, bad. But you need it. Good. So do it inside Chrome because Google's Chrome browser keeps it sandboxed and safe, and it keeps it up to date, even more important. Being up to date is really important. Chrome automatically updates. You can't get rid of Internet Explorer. You don't need to. Keep it around, useful for many things, but your day-to-day browsing, do it in Chrome. If you can eliminate Reader, I would. There are other PDF reading programs that are good and not that they're better written necessarily, but they're less attacked because they're less common. Bad guys are all about efficiency. They're all about numbers. They want to get to the most computers, so they attack the things most people have, i.e. Internet Explorer, Adobe Reader. Use, Foxit or Cute PDF. There are lots of other choices out there that are better. In fact, we'll put a list of some good other choices in our show notes, techguylabs.com. Eliminate Java if you can, unless you play there are older, game sites that still use Java. That's really not so much. Uninstall Java if you have it, and you'll know if you need it again. If you play Minecraft, you need it. But if you do have it installed, make sure that the button in the browser that says use Java is turned off. Uncheck that. JavaScript's okay. Java is not. I think And then you want to have an antivirus, go right ahead, keep it up to date. That's nice. That's a nice thing. It won't stop you from doing dumb things, but it might warn you after you do them. Hey, you really messed up. That's nice. Do that, and you can continue to use XP in most cases safely. You really can. It's more about your behavior than anything else. Rob Fairfield, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Rob.
Hey, Leo.
Welcome.
Good Saturday afternoon to you.
A good Saturday afternoon to you, too.
Okay. Well, my question, it doesn't have to do with photographs.
Oh,
It has
okay.
to do with TV.
Oh, okay.
Because I bought a nice plasma Panasonic, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But then the HD movies, and this is AT&T, but I'm guessing all of them compress.
You have Uverse.
Yeah, I've got Uverse.
Okay.
And I've got fiber, so it's not the bits per second.
Well, it is the bits per second. So all television systems compress somewhat. Satellite, more. Cable, less. Uverse depends on the channel. Over the air, the least. But they're all compressed because video is big, and HD video is even bigger still. You may have the bandwidth. Now, let me ask you, is this stuff you're getting on the Uverse channels, like your cable TV, or is this Netflix?
No, this is on the Uverse channel.
Yeah. That you don't have much control over because they compress it, because they don't want to use up all the bandwidth to your house.
Okay.
So there is a setting for quality, and I would turn up the quality, but a lot of people complain to me about Uverse, saying they overcompress. That may be just the nature of the biz. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. How do you turn up the quality on Uverse? I mean, look who's here. Look who snuck in over the transom. Johnny Jett, our travel guru. Johnny joins us each week to show us how to save money.
Bonsoir.
Oh, they're sneaking in. Oh, Nathan, no, too late. You already played Saturday Night Fever. No point sneaking in Johnny's theme now. We know. Johnny, where are you today?
I'm in Paris, France.
Oh, I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. My favorite city. Oh, I'm so jealous. Where, why, what, how, and when?
I just came in with Natalie. She had a week off. She wanted, It's her favorite city in the world, so we're here for a few days before we go to our next destination. But, I came in from Toronto last night. It's only a 6.5-hour flight from Toronto.
Yeah, right. I always say, if I was talking to somebody who lives on the East Coast yesterday, if I lived on the East Coast, I'd be in Paris every weekend. Well, not really, but...
Well, about that, but, yeah. I mean, it's a quick flight. Going,
relatively.
Home, Going back is a little bit longer.
Time change is not good to you, but... So you're just on vacation...
Pullman Hotels.
Which one? Pullman?
Pullman. They're part of Accor, which is one of the largest hotel
And do you
chains.
like it? Is it nice?
Oh, yeah, they're really nice. One of my favorite ones is in Bangkok. It's more of a business hotel, so if you're here for leisure... Actually, it's a great tip is to always target business hotels on weekends because you'll save a lot of money.
Oh, that is a good tip.
Because there's no business travelers in there, so they offer really good deals. That's a really good tip.
That's a very good tip, yeah.
So, anyway, I just came in from San Francisco 2 to 3 days ago.
I know. I was hurt. I saw you were there. I wasn't going to say anything, but...
No, I told you before. You said you couldn't meet up. But anyway, you know what I used a lot in San Francisco was Uber X.
So this is an interesting move, and it's somebody is talking about the Uberfication of America. And it's not just Uber, but a lot of services that are
Lyft,
starting to spring up. And it's not even just for car services, but Uber is very controversial, especially with taxi drivers and taxi commissions. In fact, it was illegal in Toronto because they want to control very tightly who can offer car rides for money. Uber is a black car service. It's comfortable. They have a couple of different services. They have a low-cost one and a high-cost one. And I like Uber a lot. But I guess there's some reason for some need for some regulation.
Right.
You want to make sure the drivers are somehow trained and the company's bonded. They don't take you for a ride to Staten Island and say, here, give us another $100 and we'll take you home. So I understand that. But at the same time, Uber, people who use Uber seem to love it an awful lot. What was your experience?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, and I use Uber X, so that's the low-cost one. And, I had them pick me up at San Francisco Airport.
So what do you mean? When I take Uber, usually it's like a Lincoln Town car. What is Uber X?
Uber X is their low-cost one, so it's a regular car. So I got.
What do you mean, like a
usually,
Toyota Corolla? I mean, what?
Exactly. Actually, I got picked up once in a Corolla, but lately they've been using Priuses because it's a lot less on gas for them. So but it's a clean car. They all usually have water in the back seat, and they pick you up, and it's just a regular driver, and you don't have to exchange any money because your credit card's on file. You don't need to tip them because it's included, but the cost from San Francisco Airport to the Fairmont Hotel, which is the heart of San Francisco, costs $35 with Uber X. With the taxis, about $60.
Ooh, no wonder the taxi guys don't like this.
Yeah, actually, here in Paris, they had a riot 2 months ago about Uber.
That's actually the only place I've ever taken Uber was in Paris.
I'm going to take it tonight, right when I'm off the phone with you.
The cab drivers in Paris deserve it. I've never met a lazier bunch. We were walking around. We were at Notre Dame, and it was started to snow. And we had walked to Notre Dame from our hotel, but we thought, well, we'd like to get a cab back. The cab drivers, as soon as it started to snow, rolled up their windows, opened their paper, lit up their gallois, and you'd knock on the window, they go, no. No. It's like, but dude, that's when we need you. No, I'm not driving in the snow.
And you can't hail them anywhere in Paris. You have to go to a taxi stand, or at least you did last year.
No, it's very frustrating.
Now with Uber,
yeah.
I love it. And from my house to the airport in LA, it cost me $13 with Uber. Usually it's $25 by a taxi. It's like it's a no-brainer. And you can just hit the app and you see where the cars are. So you don't have to sit there and go, when's this guy going to show up? You know exactly where they are. That's what I love it.
Uber, U-B-E-R. But you have to get the app on your phone, and then
Android or iOS.
Is there a different app for Uber X, or is it the same app?
No, same X.
So you choose what you see where Uber drivers are around you. If there's one near you,
at the bottom, you just switch. To the left is usually Uber X.
And then you say, call one, and just tap a button.
Just tap it.
And then they show you the nearest one. They show you a picture of the guy, so you know what it looks like.
And their license plate.
And their license plate. And then they show you a map as they progress towards you. So you know exactly when they're coming. You can go inside, have another drink, wait, and then you know when they're right out front, and you know what the driver looks like, so you know you're getting in the right car. It's really a very good service.
And when you get in the car, you can also hit share, and then you email it or whatever you want to do. Put it on social media if you want, but send it to your loved ones who you're going to meet, and they'll know exactly when you're going to show up.
But there are some shenanigans. For instance, one Uber driver in Paris, the application conveniently crashed during the ride, so he didn't know how much it cost, and I didn't know how much it cost. So what I should have said is, well, that means the ride's free, right? But I didn't want to get beat up.
but you rate the driver when you're done. And
he got a bad rating.
Rate you.
But he seemed apologetic, so I wasn't really sure if it was his fault. But it did seem like a little bit of a scam.
Yeah,
this is why the taxi commissions all over the world are a little skeptical about this. Unfortunately, there was a tragic accident in San Francisco involving a child in an Uber car. So it is, I think. While I love the idea of kind of the internet making all this cool stuff possible, it's not inappropriate for us to just a little bit regulate, keep an eye on it, don't you think? Or you just don't do it, I guess.
There needs to be some kind of regulation. But for instance, LAX, they won't allow Uber drivers to pick people up because the Los Angeles Taxi Commission gets $4 off every ride.
Mostly regulation, this is what's given it a bad name, is about maintaining the status quo and making money. And that's unfortunate because it could also protect consumers, which is the point.
Right.
But that often not. That's a good example, right? It's good for consumers to have choice. Choice is good.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
So it also have another app that's kind of like Uber, but it's not for cars. It's for laundry. It's called Fly Cleaners.
Okay, Fly Cleaners.
So you got to look it up. I just wrote about it this week in my newsletter.
Flycleaners.com.
They're in New York right now, but all you do is you go to their app, you tell them when you want to be picked up. You could set a time. They'll come. They'll come to like 6 a.m. to midnight.
Yeah.
And they'll do your laundry at a local laundromat. You tell them what kind of fabric's off and all this stuff, and it's like $1 a pound or less.
See, this is the Uberfication of America. Unfortunately, all this stuff happens in major metropolitan areas because that's where most people are. So you've got Uber, you've got Fly Cleaners, but here in Petaluma, I got to do my own laundry, man. I got to drive my own car.
I know. But if I was living in New York City, I would use this fly cleaners all the time because I hate doing laundry.
And I'd use Amazon Fresh. Did you see Amazon now? They give you a little scanner. You go to your fridge, you scan your empty milk, you scan everything, and then you press a button, and the grocery guy delivers it the next day.
You got to love it.
But you got to live in a major metro.
It starts somewhere. Uber just started in San Francisco, 3 or 4 years ago, and now they're in 70 cities around the world. I've used them
they're growing.
in Sydney. I used them, and now I'm going to use it tonight here in Paris.
Right. I'm so jealous.
Takes time.
What are your plans in Paris? What are you going to do?
We're just relaxing. We just walked along.
Great city for walking. Is the weather nice?
It's beautiful. It's
April in
during
Paris.
The day, 68 degrees.
Get out of here. Go away.
Night it's chilly.
I don't like you anymore. JohnnyJet.com. He's at JohnnyJet on the Twitter, and I love him. Take care, Johnny. Thank you.
Bon
voyage. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
À bientôt. À tout à l'heure. It's your job to relax.
Yeah.
Now I know why Natalie married you. It's the trips. That is awesome. I've been trying, Lisa also, favorite city. But the only time she's been there, we've been there twice, is in the snow in December because of Le Web. And I keep saying, can we go in the spring, please?
April's a great time to come.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, most people were walking around today with I just wore this shirt. I brought a jacket with me, and I put it in Natalie's bag.
It can be a little foggy and rainy in the spring, I think. But it's so hot in the summer, you don't really want to go then. In the winter, really, it can be cold. So.
But it's my favorite time of year here.
It's a beautiful city. And at night, and the nice thing about spring is you see the lovers strolling down the banks of the Seine.
Actually, I was on the Pont the Arts. I can't.
Pont des Arts. Pont des Arts.
Natalie speaks French. So she just yells at me for my pronunciation. But anyway, we're on there today. The Lovelock Bridge, which is getting out of control. There's so many locks on there. But the couple next to us got engaged right next to us.
Oh, so romantic.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Paris.
Anyway, come on out.
They probably were married to other people, but it did not matter. In Paris, everybody loves a lover. Oh.
That was a flight attendant today. We flew Air France, and our flight attendant had the biggest crush on Natalie. And I was teasing her. I was doing the same accent, pretending I was him, because he would just walk by the whole time and just keep staring at her.
Thank heavens. Oh, yeah. That's happened to me. I think the Air France flight attendants are out of control. Jennifer and I flew to Paris some years ago, and he started dancing with her in the aisles, like slow dancing.
Yeah.
I said, that's my wife you're dancing with. Oh, she's a beautiful woman. You must take good care of her, or I shall steal her away. We're on a plane, buddy. Where you going to go? The French are fabulous. I love
they
French.
are. Yeah. They are.
Thank heavens for little girls. The Kilometer High Club is not high enough.
Kilometer High.
All right, thanks, Johnny. Take care.
Take care. Have a good week.
You too. Have fun. I'm so jealous. What fun would that be? Thank heaven for Air France flight attendants. Because Air France flight attendants are dogs. This is not my beautiful wife. This is a French flight attendant. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 88 ask. Leo, Johnny's webpage where he puts all the tips and everything at johnnyjet.com. You can get all of the information you need. Steve is on the line. Somerville, Massachusetts. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Leo. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, thank you. I'm very happy to be finally asking you this question.
Good.
I signed up for a VPN service, and my intent was to hold back from some of the bottlenecking between Netflix and Hulu Plus.
Well, that's an interesting idea. So what is a VPN? It stands for Virtual Private Network.
Private Network.
Yeah, and the idea, some people have already used these. If you get on the computer at work from home, you'll be doing it through a VPN. That way, there's no risk of the data leaking out into the outside world. You have a basically, think of it as a brick tunnel that you're going through, an encrypted tunnel, so that your data is not visible to anybody else. Now, we've started using these more widely to protect ourselves if we're on an open access spot. You know, you're at a hotel using their internet. If you use a VPN, either your home, your office, or in many cases to a VPN provider, the data is encrypted going from you to them. Your idea, which is I know others have tried, is what if my internet service provider doesn't like Netflix? What if it's, say, Comcast, and they don't like Netflix, so they slow it down? We, in fact, know that Comcast slowed down Netflix by 33% between October and January of this year. That's horrible. So if you, but the reason they can do that is because they can see those packets and they know that that's Netflix. So they have software, Sandvine it's called, that looks and says, that's Netflix, slow that one down. You can let that email go, but no, slow down that Netflix. Well, that's only because they know what it is. If you put it inside this encrypted tunnel, it all looks the same and they'd let it go. There's a disadvantage to this. There is overhead added because now you're getting encrypted, scrambled and unscrambled. That takes time. And you're going through a server somewhere and then going out onto the net.
Right. So there's a little hiccup for the extra steps involved.
Right. It would only be worthwhile if your internet service provider were really negatively impacting your performance.
Mm-hmm.
But the overhead can really make it worse. So, for instance, Comcast did a deal with Netflix. Netflix finally succumbed. They said, all right, you win. We're going to pay you extra, so you stop doing that. So now if you're a Comcast customer, Netflix comes in fast. Using a VPN would actually slow it down because I'm a Comcast customer here. I'm going to the Comcast servers here. That's where Netflix is coming from. They have a much faster connection to the Netflix information. They may even have copies of the movie locally. That's faster than me going to my VPN server in Denver and then to the Denver Comcast, getting the data coming back and back all the way. And that can make a difference when you're watching streaming movies. Is that what your experience has been to slow it down?
No, it's worked out a little bit.
Good.
I have it on my main machine.
I could tell you right now, if Netflix is faster through a VPN, then your internet service provider is definitely messing with you.
Right.
That's the sure sign.
Right. So I figured it's pretty cheap annually to remove that last 2-mile excuse from my provider.
Right.
But in the meantime, I have Plex running on a smart TV.
Cool.
And I can't get, they don't shake hands. Plex server is also running on the same machine running the VPN. Now,
so you're running your own VPN, or I see what you're saying. The client software from your VPN provider.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay.
That might get in the way. That's right.
Right, and I can't figure out what setting, where I need them to shake hands and play nice with one another.
In many cases, the software you're using, you can exclude certain kinds of traffic. So I'd look in the software for the ability to say, hey, don't do it to Plex.
Okay, yeah, there's nothing there. It's if I should mention which one I use.
Yeah, well, I don't know all this. Is it? Which one is it?
Private Internet Access.
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, there are many of them. We have an advertiser, ProXPN. They claim their software, and I haven't used it, so I don't know. They claim, because I just use it on mobile, they claim their desktop software lets you say to certain packets, don't go through the VPN. This is a kind of a tricksy little, you've got a fancy setup. The fancier the setup, the more likely you are going to be the one figuring out the problem.
Right.
And I'm really not sure, but I think the key, see, because you don't want the Plex traffic to go to the outside internet at all. You just want it on the internal internet. So probably there is a way to do that.
A simpler approach. Now I have the VPN client on my main machine. Is there a way to, and I'd be happy to use ProXPN if you think they would be able to do it, put the program on my router so everything in my home processes through it?
Yes, you can do that. Some routers actually support VPN. And then that means that the stuff internal on your network wouldn't even know about it. And that might be one fix. Absolutely. If you can use the VPN credentials on your router, then you don't need to run any of that software on your desktops. And that means traffic within the network, probably, within your local network, would not probably be affected. The chat room saying TunnelBear and ProXPN both do have the ability to exclude certain programs from VPN.
Gotcha. All right.
But there should also be, you could try it for free. They have a free trial, so I would just try that for free.
Sure.
And then there are lots of ways around it. It's a little bit beyond my pay grade, I'm afraid.
No problem.
All right.
To the forums.
To the forums you go. Hey, thanks for the call. I'm glad to talk about it, though, because it raises this issue of, does your internet service provider get to decide, well, Netflix uses too much bandwidth on our network. We just don't really want to let them. So we're going to turn the knob. The one big one with a sign that says, slow down Netflix. We're going to turn that knob and slow them down. Mike, Portland, Leo, the tech guy. Hi, Mike. Welcome.
Hi, Leo. I finally got a new computer because you told me to. You said
I made you do it, didn't I, Mike?
Made me do it. And, one of the things that I forgot about that when you upgrade an operating system is that a lot of times your peripherals need to be changed, too.
Yes, because they may not be compatible with the new stuff. Yeah,
exactly. My printer, which was working great, I was able to kind of work around that, and I was able to get the laser printer to work, finding some workarounds. But my scanner is not, and I need a new scanner for the first time in many years. And I have a couple of things that I need to do with the scanner. One is to hopefully be able to scan coins because I sometimes need.
Oh, neat! Are you a numismatist?
A little bit of one. Not tremendously. I'm certainly more of a numismatist than I am a philatelist.
Well, one should never philatelize. Yeah,
it sounds too dirty. It's terrible.
So, okay, coins. You want to take scans of coins? What else?
I also need to be able to scan the back of a CD cover, sometimes through the wrap and whatever. So it's kind of three-dimensional. And I've heard some of the LED scanners don't do that very well. Then the third thing is I don't want to spend a lot of money.
All right. I would say Epson. Go with the Epson scanners. They have a wide range. It's what I use. They're very good. You want to pick one that does the things you need. But I love them. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. No philately on this show. Great features like voicemail through email, sending and receiving fax messages through smartphones, auto receptionist. So you hear this ad? Do you know how this ad got to the radio? ShareFile. That's how and Nathan knows it. He's listening. I use ShareFile all the time because I am sending large files over the internet to radio stations. If you are sharing files in business, and I think almost every business mail these days has an attachment, you got to stop sending attachments. It's how viruses get spread. Now, I know you're not spreading a virus, but how can I tell people don't open attachments if you keep sending them attachments they need to open? So let's just stop this bad practice. It's also bad because it's rude. They're giant files, and you shouldn't be sending them as attachments. They clog up people's inbox. Some people have inboxes that are as small as 10 megabytes. You send them a 3 megabyte file, that's 30% of their storage. Also, it may be illegal. If attachments are not secure, anybody along the way can see them, and that means if you're a physician, you can't share patient records that way. HIPAA prevents that. If you're a stockbroker, you got to be careful there. The SEC has all sorts of regulations about privacy. Lawyers too. So don't send email attachments. Send ShareFile links. It's what I do, and it's the best. It also solved a lot of problems because Nathan knows what to do with these, but there are some radio stations along the line where I sent them. I used other systems, and they were very confused. The one I'll never forget is when I sent a bunch of ads to one station using a system that allowed that station to delete them after he downloaded them. And I said, "What'd you delete them for?" He said, "Well, they're taking room on my hard drive." I said, "Yeah, but there's 20 other stations that need these files." He said, "Well, they're taking room on my hard drive." Man, they're taking room on my hard drive. That's bad. And this is I'm not going to name names, but it's one you use. Don't. We've also talked about, remember we had a caller who said, "Hey, I'm an attorney and I need my clients to send me documents. And I thought for a while, oh, should he set up a secure FTP server or what? No, ShareFile. Look at this. I'm going to log in my ShareFile account so I can show you some of the features here. ShareFile has a really nice feature called Request File. You can send an email to a client or a colleague or a felon, and it says, hey, I need a file. I'll show you what happens. I'll just create a link real quickly. And they can get this link or they'll get an email. And then when they enter the link, it says, it has my company logo, so they know it came from me, right? It explains how to do it, full instructions. They can drag the file there, and it's securely transmitted to me. It's actually stored on my ShareFile cloud storage, which is really nice. The cloud storage is available to me on my smartphone, a lot of different ShareFile apps. But for instance, now what I do with Premiere, for instance, I just sync. I have a ShareFile folder. I sync the folder, which happens automatically through the ShareFile. I can show you the ShareFile sync app. Runs in the background. It's always syncing. So they've got the ShareFile folder. So I don't even have to send them an email anymore. If it's Nathan or Heidi or any of the people, they just can open it up. In fact, you see how granular I can get with these permissions? I could do the same when I'm sending them a file. I could say how long they can download it for, who can download it. I'll get an email if I want. It's really great. I can go on and on about all the features, but just go to ShareFile and click this link at the top, please. Podcast listeners, click here. Use the offer code TechGuy, one word. That's our podcast offer code, TECHGUY. Do select your industry if you want. You don't have to, but if you do, they can show you some of the advantages, and the legal rules and regulations you have to follow. So for every business, there's a ShareFile. ShareFile.com. Click the mic at the top of the homepage. Use the offer code TechGuy. 30 days free. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. I didn't know that. You're going to Coachella, right? The big music festival next weekend. You can't go because you have to work here, so I won't let you go because I'm a mean and harsh taskmaster.
Exactly.
Yeah, good. You shouldn't go. You shouldn't go. There's probably a lot of hippies there. Drug use.
There's
firearms. Paris Hilton. She's at Coachella?
Yeah, it's got this huge LA thing because it's just down the freeway, in
Well, you'll be very happy to learn that, and thank you, Desert Moon, for filling me in the chat room, that T-Mobile will be streaming this all on YouTube. So who needs to go and get dusty, camp in a tent, use a porta-john? Who needs to do that? Get in line just to see the bare naked ladies? That's a band, folks. Don't get upset. Who needs to do that? And what is a band that you would like to see? Coachella, they probably don't play Coachella. They're more the country fair, county fair type.
County fair, yeah. They have a spectacular lineup this year, and the Replacements getting together to
The Replacements,
play.
okay.
So
I'll use them from now on, even though it sounds like I'm making it up. You don't have to get in line to see The Replacements. You can just watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Who are they replacing, just out of curiosity? No, see what I did there? 88. Everything's streamed nowadays. Pretty soon we won't have to live. We'll just stream it. I could just lie in my bed, wear my Facebook Rift virtual reality glasses, and stream my life. In fact, you could just cut my head off at the neck because I won't need the rest of it. Right?
You'll save so much on clothing.
Think of what you'll save. They did this last year. They streamed it last year. I didn't know that. Yeah, many people I know go to Coachella. Is like Burning Man. It's one of those things that most people have never been to, but everybody they know goes to. Have you ever been to Burning Man?
Yes, and Coachella.
So of course you have, because you're not a stay-at-home type. You don't believe in viewing things on streams. You go out and do them. Mm-hmm. I like lying in bed. Roger in Ogden, Utah. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Roger.
Hey, how are you, Leo?
Couldn't be better. How are you?
I'm well. Hey, I've got a iMac, which second generation Intel, which is now almost 8 years old.
Yeah, we're now to the 4th generation Intel.
Yeah.
Not that that matters, but okay.
Anyway, this one's... but I have a 24-inch monitor that has an HDMI input, so I'm thinking of buying just a Mac Mini to replace it.
Yeah, why not?
But Apple hasn't upgraded their hardware for a long time.
If there is one thing that the Mac fanatics ask me most often is, where the heck is the new Mac Mini? It feels like, and boy, the Apple has changed a little bit. It almost feels like they've got limited attention, and they can only work on one thing at a time. It started with the iPhone, literally, in 2007. They dropped everything, and all hands on deck, let's get this phone out. And it was so successful, they took the word computer out of the company name. They said, we don't care if it kills iPod sales. It did. But they've sold so many iPhones and so many iPads now that I think they're less worried about the desktop computing experience. Laptops even, but certainly desktops. So the Mini is now, how old is it? It's a year and a half old, something like that. It's got the 3rd generation Intel processor, not the 4th, which it ought to have. We hear rumors every day that there's going to be a new Mini. But I've been hearing that drumbeat for months. So let's see. Mac Rumors has a buyer's guide, which is really cool. And they tell you how long something's been out. Recent rumor, February 21st, Intel's processor roadmap leaves uncertainty. Well, that's not going to help. January 22nd, a Belgian retailer says new Mac Mini coming by the end of February. Didn't happen. The recommendation is don't buy, update soon. But when? The last release was, get this, October 23rd, 2012. Forget about it. Well, I like the Mac Mini. I think it's a great product. It's 529 days old now. And it deserves to be updated. It really does. But no one knows. No one knows. And you know, Mac Rumors is saying don't buy it because you'll be sad when they come out with a new one. But I don't know if they're going to come out with a new one. I really don't.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Will.
Yeah, I wish I could give you better advice. I like the Mini. It's the most affordable Mac, by the way. $700. And since you have a great monitor and you have a keyboard and mouse, you just get the Mini. It's not big. In fact, it's the size of the old Apple TV. It's little, and it's great for so many reasons. But geez, I just feel like I don't know what's going on at Apple. I really don't. I don't think they really care about desktop computing anymore. It took them a long time to get a new Mac Pro out. I got to tell you, I have a Mac Pro. I ran out and got that cylinder, the black cylinder, because it was my job, and also I thought it looked pretty cool. I'll admit it. $3,000 minimum entry level, right? And that doesn't include a keyboard, mouse, or monitor. $3,000. And it's never worked right since day one. Still not working right. Can't recommend it. I wish I could. And I'll be honest, you know, we were waiting here. You know, we do a lot of video editing because besides this show, which is available on video, crazily enough, even though it's a radio show, I do 25 other shows on our Twit network, all in video. So we have editors. We have 4 or 5 editors. They have been working on old Mac Pros and the older version of Final Cut. And we really feel like Apple's abandoned us. We're not alone. A lot of video editors feel this way. And Apple, if you're listening, our next buy is going to be a PC running Adobe Premiere. We're going to start editing on Windows because that at least is being kept up to date and works. And after my experience with the Mac Pro, I can't recommend anybody buy one. Certainly not going to spend $3,000 for 5 editors to get them. And they, by the way, that's not all, because then you have to get a super duper external hard drive because the inside hard drive is tiny and not upgradable. And you have to buy Thunderbolt cables and, oh, man. By the time you're done, you're really talking a minimum of $5,000 or $6,000. Maybe as much as $10,000 for a video editor. It makes me sad, Apple. I don't understand what you're doing. You feel a little bit like you're chasing the future, which is, I understand, mobile, touchscreen mobile, and just abandoning. I think it's time to call it. They are abandoning desktop computing. Let's face it. They really are. I wish I could say, oh, everybody go out and buy Windows machines. That's not a much better prospect either. Microsoft has made a hideous mistake with Windows 8. They're finally kind of acknowledging it and backing off, but not fast enough. Makes me, I think desktop computing's over, whether we want it or not. And I don't think we want it. We're going to be dragged kicking and screaming into the touch screen era, the mobile era, the tablet era, the post-PC era. I'm not ready for it. Is it just because I'm an old man? Is that it? I bet you a lot of you feel the same way. They've dragged us to this. We didn't want it. They're making us do this. Sigh. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm going to sit here sucking my thumb and patting my inoperable Mac Pro. I'll be back right after this. Kevin is in Mountain View, California, home of the Google. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Leo.
When you look out your window, can you see Google from there?
No, but I could go jogging and get to the campus.
Yeah, they're taking over Mountain View.
Yeah, they are.
What can I do for you?
So I've been a long time Mac guy since the late 90s, but I have a friend with a Windows 7 machine, and a couple days ago he told me that Adobe Reader crashes randomly when opening documents and Outlook won't open up at all. And since I'm a Mac guy, I don't even really know where to start.
Sounds like he's got bit rot. So sometimes if a group of apps stop working, it's because they use a common library. There are a couple of, and this is unusual. This is a Windows thing, not a Mac thing. It actually is not unusual. Linux does it as well. There's the theory being, why should we rewrite the stuff that we all do, like draw windows? Why don't we just make a single library that we all call? But if that library got damaged, then you'd see crashes among the applications that used it. And you'd say, well, wait a minute, why is this crashing and this crashing, but this not crashing? So I'm thinking that could be part of the problem. One thing I would do is uninstall Adobe Reader and install the latest version. Adobe Reader is a vector. Both are vectors for infections from the internet.
Okay.
So that's another cause for concern, because it's internet. Anything that goes online is potentially a place a bad guy can get into your system. So you can't uninstall and reinstall Internet Explorer, really. I mean, I guess you kind of can. But you definitely can Adobe Reader, and I would do that. Make sure you got the latest version. And then look for an update to Internet Explorer. Make sure, it's not automatically updated. And so he wants to run Windows Update, and it won't be a critical update, won't be a required update. It'll be an optional update. Make sure he updates to the latest version of it.
Okay, we actually did all of those things.
Okay.
Except for we didn't uninstall Adobe, but we got everything updated.
Yeah, try uninstalling and reinstalling. If none of that works, there is a command in Microsoft Windows, the System File Checker, that will go through all the system files and make sure they're intact. That includes libraries, common libraries, so it's not a bad thing to do. The command for that is SFC, System File Checker, /scan now. You have to do that at a command line, but it's fairly easy in Windows. You just click the Start menu. There's usually a run item, and just type SFC/scan now. Let it run. You'll need a Windows disk because it's got to get those files from somewhere. The other thing you can do is you can rerun the Windows installer, and at some point it's going to say, hey, wait a minute, hold on, I can't install Windows. You already have Windows. And then it'll say, would you like me to fix it? And you say, yes, repair it. Press R for repair. So there's a variety of different ways to try to repair Windows. A lot of times the best thing to do is just, start over.
Okay.
Just depends what's wrong. It's hard to say what's wrong. This happens on Macs, PCs, and Linux as well. It could be just a bad sector on the hard drive where a critical library lives, and it can't run them. It could be, however, that bad stuff got on the system, and it didn't want you to update Adobe Reader, or maybe it came in through Adobe Reader, and it doesn't want you to, and it maybe screwed up Internet Explorer, because bad guys don't write their software necessarily perfectly. They don't really care. They don't care if it's buggy. So maybe some malware got on the system and that's causing the crashes too. That's possible. Richard in Sonoma, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Richard.
Hi there. I'm older than you and crankier.
I notice I am getting crankier as I get older. Is that what happens?
I think so. I didn't used to be this cranky.
Here's my interpretation. As we get older, we start to see the truth of things, and it's making us mad. We're cranky because if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention.
Absolutely. If you're not, well, yeah, I have another word. Yes, I agree.
So it's not that we're older; it's that we're wiser.
That's an excellent theory. That could be a drinking game.
A little self-serving, but okay.
All right. So my question is, speaking of cranky, I have a Toshiba Thrive 10-inch, which I loved.
Yes.
The past tense is because I don't see it being updated in my lifetime.
You may be right.
It was a beautiful tablet.
Again, a good reason to get cranky. Companies abandon their stuff.
This is why, well, then there's the iPad 1, but that's a separate, I have to have a badder word for that. That really pisses me off.
Yeah, and that's only 3 years old. Or 4 years old.
It's still a really
Of course it works perfectly.
It's still a wonderful tablet.
Right, but how is Apple or Toshiba supposed to make money if you won't buy something new, darn you?
Yeah, I know. I'm just
the Thrive is not going to get updated. Yours has honeycomb on it, right?
4.0.
Oh,
yeah.
You got the 4.0. Okay.
I got the 4.0.
So that's better than nothing.
I'm wondering if my fix is the Nexus 10.
Well, yes. You like 10? You like that size?
Well, I have a Nexus 7. I'm not. Let's see. Can I use the word whore? I'm a tech whore. So I have a lot of devices, and I love my Nexus 7 a lot.
I think the Nexus 7 is great, and the Nexus 10 is 3 inches bigger.
Size matters.
Now, there is an interesting thing happening on Google's Play Store. If you go to play.google.com where they sell this thing, it says Nexus 10 coming soon. But wait a minute, that's been out for a year and a half. So my thinking is maybe they're going to update that thing.
And is there anything wrong? I mean,
there's nothing wrong. The Nexus 10
is running KitKat now.
It's superlative. I'm a big fan of the 7. Although, remember, the second 7 was a little bit better than the first 7. Fixed some problems and some speed issues. That I would presume there'd be some. Maybe that's why they haven't released a new Nexus 10. There's no reason to. It's perfect.
But could I? Well, I'm thinking about getting a low mileage. I know a couple of people with their 10s that don't know what to do with them because they're not as much of an Android fan as I am.
The more I use Android, the more I like it. I think Google has been very aggressive about updating it. I think the Google Android products are the most up to date because Google can. They don't have to beg Toshiba to do something. So I absolutely strongly recommend any Nexus device, whether it's a phone or a tablet, and whatever size rocks your boat. That's the one I'd go for.
I'm going back to, I'm going back into the Nexus world. I had the G1, and about a year ago I got the Nexus 4, and I love that. It's been a great device.
The G1, that's the first Android phone, right?
I know. Yes. Yeah, that was the first Android phone.
They've come a long way, baby. You got to admit.
No, I know. I love my Nexus 4.
Yeah.
It's a great phone.
Well,
but that's why I'm thinking about the Nexus 10. It's a good processor. That's what I'm really asking is
it's not the latest anymore. It's 2 years old, and I really feel like they're about to update it. So, can you wait? I would, because I just think they're going to update it soon. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Oh, Personal Capital, I love you. Do you know about Personal Capital? You ought to. Personal Capital is such a cool thing. It's I found out about it actually from the founder. I had him on one of our shows, Triangulation, and Bill Harris. He was a CEO at Intuit. He'd been CEO of PayPal. He knows finance, and he pinpointed a kind of a need This is what these entrepreneurs do. It's so cool. I think people need a better way to understand their financial situation. There's no, and in particular, their investments. It's very difficult. If you want to improve your financial situation, there are a couple of barriers. First is it's hard to keep track of everything. You've got stocks and bonds and banks and charge cards and 401ks and loans, and they're all on different sites with different passwords. You can't keep them up to date. You can't figure it out. And there's no time when you can see it all in one, easy to view dashboard. That's what Personal Capital does. They take all of these accounts and they give you a single page that gives you a real-time look at how you stand. The graphs are intuitive, easy to understand. And then the second barrier is that, if you're investing, you can be paying too much in fees and people to help you manage it. Personal Capital will help you do that. Give you tailored investment advice, investment checkup, I should say. They'll give you a mutual fund calculator to figure out if you're making the most of your investments, plan your retirement, plan to grow your personal financial worth. Hey, you know what? Don't feel guilty. It's okay. If you don't take care of yourself, no one's going to take care of you. Personal, it's okay. And you know what? The best of all, this is free. It ought to be, right? Personalcapital.com/techguy. It's a smart way to grow your money. Personalcapital.com/techguy. Take control of your financial life. Mommy ain't going to do it for you. You got to do it for yourself. Personalcapital.com/techguy. I've been using it since I interviewed Bill. It's, how many? Year and a half ago. I signed up right away, and I love it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Janice in Tehachapi, California. You're next. Hi, Janice. Wait a minute.
Can I call?
Yes, you're very welcome. Thanks for calling.
I'm a fifth grade teacher up here in Tehachapi, and right now I'm just sitting here listening to you as I do my lesson plans.
First, let me bow down to you. I know how hard it is. It's a true calling, but boy, the teachers are the most important people in the world, I think. You're molding the future. Thank you for your work.
Well, thank you very much. If I probably listened to you more closely as I did my lesson plans, I wouldn't have to ask you this question, but I do have one.
Glad to help. Glad to help.
Right now, we are on a Windows-based system, and that's where we plan to stay. But last year, I bought a Mac Air, and I do use it in my classroom. But my question is, I guess, is my old computer that we use is just getting too old and too slow.
Yeah. This in a nutshell is why I love teachers, because you spent your own money to bring in more modern equipment because the school district doesn't have the money to replace the old stuff.
Right. Well, hopefully they might, but then they might not next year. So, it's one of those things you just don't know about. And I'm impatient, I guess.
Well, and you want to give the kids the best experience, and I really honor you for that. That's great. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, my question is, should I be able to take my Mac Air, I bought it in November of 2013, and should I kind of be able to turn it into a Windows machine?
You can. You bet you can. You'll need a copy of Windows, a licensed copy of Windows that you can use. That's the sticking point. It's not free. They don't just give out copies of Windows. Although the district may have a license you can use since they already have Windows machines. And then there's two ways to do this. Macintoshes actually make excellent Windows machines. Ever since Apple shifted to Intel processors, they are Windows machines. They just run Macintosh instead of Windows.
Okay.
So Apple has a way to do this that works quite well, but it does require disk space. There's a little program called Boot Camp on your Macintosh. And you would run that program, Boot Camp, and it would say, okay, great. First of all, let's make sure you have a Windows installer. And you can either be on now you don't have a CD-ROM on that, so you'll have to get an external CD drive, or you could put it on a USB key. Put it in there and says, yes, I see you have Windows. Great. Now I'm going to download the drivers because it has different drivers because it's different hardware, right? But every computer has its own Windows drivers that are specific to that hardware. Apple makes those Windows drivers available. You download them. And then it's going to say, okay, now I'm going to take your disk and divide it up because we have to make room for Windows. How much room do you want? And you're going to need 10 or 20 gigabytes, probably 20 for Windows. So you have to have enough space on your internal hard drive that you can do this.
Okay, well, I haven't put a lot on.
Yeah, you probably have room.
A lot on there yet. So
20's plenty. Okay, 20's plenty. And at that point, when you start the machine, you have the choice. You hold the Option key down when you start it and says, would you like to run Macintosh or Windows today? If you choose Windows, it runs just like the Windows machines, except it's up to date. Microsoft will give you a $12 version of Windows 7 from TechSoup.org, I believe, because you're an educator. So go visit TechSoup.org and find out about that. Windows 7, I believe, is still supported by Boot Camp. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat room. And it's probably the one you want because you're probably using XP on those old machines in your school, in your class.
Right, but it has to be Pro.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm pretty sure they'll give you Pro. If not, Microsoft also has educational discounts. They want teachers.
That's true.
Yeah, they want teachers.
And my son is in college, so
you'll be able to get
it. Back off him.
Yeah. Yes. 7's probably the one you want. It'll be most familiar to you. It'll be like XP. Now, once you've done that, you can also run it in. There's two ways to do Windows. That's the Boot Camp method, the approved Apple way. But there's another way that's perfectly fine. In fact, works hand in hand with Boot Camp, and that's using it in virtualization. That lets you continue to run Macintosh, but every once in a while open a window that has Windows in it. And that's very convenient if you don't want to exit the Macintosh operating system, but you want to run a Windows program. You can even run that window program in something they call coherence mode that makes it look like it's a Macintosh program. It's running like in a window.
And what was the name of that again?
Well, there's 3 ways to do this. There's the free one, which is called VirtualBox. That's from Oracle, virtualbox.org. But I don't know how well VirtualBox works with Boot Camp. If you want to, the nice thing about, there's two commercial products, Parallels and VMware Fusion. And those will say, oh, I see you already have Windows installed, so I'm not going to worry about it. We're going to let you manage that partition, but I will continue to run Windows applications anytime you want without exiting Macintosh. So the 3 choices are VirtualBox, that's free, Parallels, and VMware Fusion. VMware Fusion and Parallels are very similar. I currently prefer VMware Fusion, but it's there are minor differences. They go back and forth. Sometimes Parallels is better. Sometimes Fusion is better. Either one would be fine. And they're under $100.
Oh, okay. Well,
once again, you're spending your money. I'm sorry, but maybe you can get a parent to have a bake sale or something and raise some money. It's just great. If we only spent a little more money on education, we could spend so much less money on prisons, on underemployment. I mean, it just would be so much better. And the state of California has really left its schools behind, and it's tragic. But thank you for not giving up. Thank you very much, Janice. I appreciate it. Yeah, running Windows on a Mac is an easy thing to do. Now, it doesn't go the other way. It is not recommended, it's not legal, and it's really not a great experience to try to run a Macintosh OS 10 system on a Windows machine. So if you want to do both, the only way really to do both legally and effectively is to get a Mac and run Windows on it. Mike in Glendale, California. Hi, Mike. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. How you doing?
I'm well.
All right, good. Listen, I'm very concerned because I was looking around for a laptop and comparing and this and that, and I finally got my best configuration. I bought a MacBook Pro, the basic one from the 800 number.
Yeah.
800 number. And then I upgraded everything. The speed, the processor, the RAM.
Wait a minute. You upgraded a MacBook Pro's processor?
Yeah.
How?
Well,
no, you didn't.
They took it to an i7.
Who they?
Yeah. And so it's an i7 quad core.
Okay. Who did that? What company did that?
Apple.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I bought it from the 800 number, Apple. You know?
And you said, please upgrade it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you bought it from Apple, then took it to somebody else and said, please upgrade this. You can't do that.
No, yeah, I had
You had Apple. You bought it from Apple that way. Okay,
right.
good.
Yeah, I had them upgrade everything.
It's called what we call a build to order.
Right.
Yeah, have it your way. It's like Burger King.
So, right.
Yeah.
So I spent $2,000. It's sitting in the box behind me on the floor, and I happened to be on your website on my 10-year-old Mac, and I saw you said on there on the website, I like all the MacBook laptops except for the basic MacBook Pro. And I was like, what?
Oh, wait a minute now. Let me go to Apple.store.apple. So you got the white plastic one? What did you get? Oh, you got the one with the CD built in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
well, you've actually, and it might have been at greater cost, I don't know, but you've actually made it better by putting in the i7 and all of that stuff.
Oh,
so there's nothing wrong with what you did. I don't normally recommend people go to the base model because it's got the worst quality display, and you can't upgrade that.
Yeah. See, that's what I was thinking was maybe you said that on your website because of it doesn't have the Retina
display. But there's no
yeah,
and you got the CD, which maybe is more important. So no, you've upgraded it. Go with it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'll have to explain that. Yeah, this is more of a personal feeling than a technical thing. If you need a CD, then the base model is good because that's the last one that still has an optical disc. But this is what I don't like about it. It has the non-retina display. I guess an Air has a non-retina display. And it has a spinning hard drive. And I really like the SSDs, but they're much faster. So the problem is that they're much smaller, too. So you get a ½ terabyte plus an optical drive, an i5, and 4 gigs of RAM for $1,200. For $100 more, you get a much smaller drive, slightly slower processor. You do get better graphics and better battery, and you get the Retina display. The problem is what he did. Let me just see if he's upgraded everything. So he got the i7, 8 gigs of RAM. He probably didn't get a SSD drive, but because that's a considerable cost. But now he's up to $1,449 for an i7 and 8 gigs of RAM. For $1,449. He could get that with a Retina. The only thing he'd give up is he'd have half the size hard drive, but it's much faster. Kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I think if you don't need Retina, it's fine. You save, but you're not saving a huge amount of money, maybe $100. And you're right, considering he's using a 10-year-old model, it's going to be so much better and faster. He spent $2,000, huh? What could he have? He must have put an SSD in then, right? Yeah. Yeah, he probably put an SSD in. Or maybe he got AppleCare. But, yeah, I mean, the only thing you can't upgrade is the Retina. So he got, and he's trading the Retina, which he said he doesn't care about, for an optical disc. So that's fine. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, I'd caution you, the problem with the website and text pronouncements on the website, like, I don't like the base model MacBook Pro, is it doesn't have any nuance. Of course, I don't have any nuance anyway. I don't dislike it. I think that if you don't care about Retina and you want an optical drive, it's a perfectly good choice. So to our previous caller, open that box. Go ahead and enjoy your Mac Pro. Nothing wrong with it, as long as you understand what you're giving up and what you're getting in return. Hey, look who's here. It's Dick DeBartolo, Mad Magazine's maddest writer. What are you doing in town?
Going from nuance to old-ons.
Yes, it's old aunts Dickie D. Dick is not only a writer at Mad Magazine, not only the main head honcho over there. I gave you a promotion.
Yeah, you sure did. I've been there a lot of years. I'll grant you that. 52 years.
What?
In March.
What? But we should really.
I sold my first piece.
You should say you were a teenager. You were in high school when you sold your first piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. Wow. Did we do anything for your 50th? Did anybody have a party?
No.
Well, we should have commemorated that.
This is not the old Mad Magazine days.
Bill Gaines would have taken you all on a boat ride to Africa.
He would have done something.
The drop of a hat.
Exactly.
So Dick joins us every week, not to talk about the good old days at Mad Magazine, but in fact to talk about the latest whizzy gadgets, because he's a gadget fanatic. That's what we call him, the Gizwiz.
Leo, I have a gadget. There was another 3D print show in the past 2 days at the Javits, the 3D Inside Printing Expo. And about 3 months ago, I saw a printer that it used plain paper to build your model. You threw in 3 reams of paper, it glued the paper together, and then printed your 3D model.
That is mind-boggling.
Yesterday, Leo, I go to the 3D Solutions booth, and I said to the guy, "What are you printing?" And he said, "Candy." And I said, "What?" He said, "We're printing candy today." I said, "Are you kidding me? Edible candy?" He said, "Yeah, here." They had printed boxes of their little logo cube with a ball inside.
Is this
so? He gives me
Chef
an
Jet
all sugar cube with a peppermint molded inside.
What the what?
And I eat it. He said, "Come on over here." He said, "It's a new line of 3D printers called Chef Jet."
Oh man!
And we have a Chef Jet and a Chef Jet Pro. The Chef Jet prints candy. You know, they're going to sell them to restaurants, bakers who want to make their own ornate designs for the tops of wedding cakes or big rallies. So the little guy can print a design 8 by 8 by 6. That's going to be under $5,000 coming mid-year. And then they have the Chef Jet Pro that can build confections up to 10 by 14 by 8 inches.
That's just wild. I guess sugar is the kind of thing you could kind of... It reminds me of 3D printing materials. It's granular, it's moldable.
Yeah, exactly. It uses water as the bonding agent.
Yeah.
And they had a showcase full of the bigger printer prints in full color. So you could design the most elaborate seashell kind of thing, and this printer can print it. It is.
But really, can it do chocolate? That's what I want to know.
It can do chocolate, vanilla, mint, sour apple, cherry, and watermelon. Those are what they have so far.
If you buy this $5,000 printer and you print anything that's sour cherry or watermelon, I'm just going to get mad at you. Don't do it. Don't do it. Stick with the classics, vanilla and chocolate.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. 5,000 is expensive. It's not something the home user would run out.
No. I don't know why they called them kitchen ready. I mean, it's got to be restaurant kitchen ready because...
Could I use... Somebody in the chat had a good idea. Could I use my regular 3D printer to print one of these and then print candy?
No,
it's kind of printer inception.
Yes, no, I don't think that can happen. I would like to print 3D candy furniture. So when you're hungry,
okay. Now,
eat a chair.
Exactly. So, can I print any arbitrary shape?
I believe that is true.
How big can the pieces be?
The little guy, 8 by 8 by 6, which is pretty big.
So you could build the building blocks. You can make like Lego bricks out of sugar,
there you go.
And then build them into something else.
There you go.
That's
and
kind
hope it
of
doesn't
cool.
rain or that the sprinkler system doesn't go off.
Okay, don't make an umbrella out of it, okay?
That's right.
That would be a bad idea. Wow. Are they available now?
It is amazing. There was another company making 3D bobbleheads. Took like 3 hours.
No. I
know you have your own. I know.
Yeah, no. I want candy. This is the first 3D printer I've truly been excited about.
Are you serious?
Well, because most of them print with plastic or cornmeal, cornstarch. That's no good. You can't eat it.
Logos?
Can you imagine giving people edible logos or business cards? Here, have my business card. If you get hungry, you can eat it.
Yeah. You know what? You should have one that makes sugar bobbleheads.
There,
and
now
then
you're
when
talking.
someone does something wrong, you say, "I'm going to bite your head off."
I like the idea of printing my logo. Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
GizWiz.biz, that's the website for our dear friend, the GizWiz, Dick DeBartolo. If you go there, you can see all the gadgets he's playing with, not just for us, and there's GizWiz podcast, but for ABC and all the other places he appears. You can also play the What the Heck Is It game. It's a fun game where you guess what this close-up picture of a pacifier is. And if you it does look like a pacifier.
It does. Actually, it does. Yeah.
It's like a robot
Made out of
pacifier. Yeah. If you could figure out what that is, actually, it doesn't even matter if you can figure it out. There's 12 autographed Mad magazines for the right answer, 24 for the wrong but cute answer. The rules, the information, and most importantly, the picture of the gadget, the close-up picture of the gadget available at gizwiz.biz. Last time, our gadget was a wine glass holder for the dishwasher. So you never really know what it's going to be.
Yeah, I didn't need that because my wine glasses would get soggy in the dishwasher.
They're made out of sugar?
Out of paper.
Paper. Thank you, Dickie D. Hang on. We're going to do the Giz Fizz right after the
Perfect. Take care.
Radio program ends in minutes. I'm trying to get a couple more calls in here before I wrap things up. Rami in Valencia, California. Hi, Rami. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Looking to connect two audio Bluetooth devices to one smartphone.
Normally, that's not a problem. Most smartphones can handle multiple devices. I have mine connected, for instance, to my car and to a Bose SoundLink, to a headset as well. You having trouble doing that?
No. I have multiple devices, too. I'm trying to play the same audio in both devices simultaneously.
Got it. And that you can't do unless those devices are set up to work together. I wonder if Dick you play with a lot of Bluetooth stuff. Have you ever seen anything like that? A Bluetooth speaker system, I think you've even mentioned it, that can play on multiple speakers from a single phone? No? Well, we're out of time. Yeah. Tell you what, keep listening, Rami. Next show, I will look around. I bet you I can find something like that, but we are out of time. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Have a great Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, the Tech Guy is just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows now on the Twit Netcast Network, and you'll find them all at twit.tv. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPad on iPad Today. You get your daily dose of tech news from Tech News Today, and our weekly roundtable show, This Week in Tech. It's all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next time with another great Tech Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.